She called me at 2:13 in the morning. Like always, no greeting, no explanation, just breathing, quiet, shaky, and then, "Where are you?" I stared at my phone in the dark for a long time. Outside my apartment window, the city was raining. Cars moved through wet streets below like blurred lights underwater. And for the first time in 6 years, I pressed decline. The line disconnected. 3 seconds later, she called again, then again, then again. My screen kept lighting up inside the darkness of my room. Luna. Still saved under just Luna. Not love, not baby, not anything special. Because no matter how much I loved her, I was never really special to her. My roommate groaned from the bunk above me. "Bro," he muttered sleepily. "You finally graduating from your unpaid therapist era?" I didn't answer. The phone kept vibrating in my hand. Every breakup, every emotional collapse, every time some guy destroyed her heart, she always came back to me. Always. Sometimes crying outside bars, sometimes sitting alone at playgrounds, sometimes drunk at 3 a.m., asking me to pick her up from places she should never have gone alone. And every single time, I went. No hesitation, no pride, no self-respect, just love. Stupid love. Another message appeared. "Please answer." I laughed quietly when I read it, not because it was funny, because 3 hours ago, she had posted a picture kissing another guy on her story, a famous gaming streamer from the university across town. Perfect jawline, cold eyes, tattoo on his neck, exactly her type. The caption read, "Finally found someone who understands me." Understands her. Right. Apparently, the person who understood her most was sitting alone in the dark, getting ignored until she got hurt again. I stood up slowly and walked onto the balcony. Rainwater dripped from the roof above, cold wind hit my face, and suddenly, I felt tired. Not sad, not angry, just tired. The kind of tired that builds up over years, the kind that sits inside your bones. I met Luna when we were 16. First day of high school, she transferred in late. The classroom got unusually quiet when she walked in. Long black hair, headphones around her neck, oversized sweater sleeves covering half her hands. The sunlight behind her made everything feel cinematic, like one of those scenes people remember forever. And unfortunately, I did. Back then, I wasn't exactly a good person. My parents had just divorced. I stopped caring about grades, started skipping classes, smoking behind convenience stores, hanging around older guys who looked dangerous enough to make me feel untouchable. Teachers hated me. Most students avoided me. But Luna didn't. She treated me normally. That alone was enough to ruin my life. The first real conversation we had happened after school. I was sleeping on my desk. Everyone else had gone home already. When I woke up, there was a sandwich beside my arm and a sticky note. "You'll die early if you keep skipping meals." No name, no heart emoji, nothing romantic, but I kept that stupid note for 4 years. Another vibration pulled me back to the present. A final message. "So you're abandoning me too?" I stared at it, then blocked her number. Just like that. 6 years. Gone with one tap. 5 minutes later, David called me. "I just saw Luna." His voice sounded cautious. "She and the streamer guy broke up." I leaned against the balcony railing silently. David sighed. "She's looking for you." "Why?" "Probably because you always save her." Rainwater slid down my wrist. I closed my eyes and suddenly realized something terrifying. For 6 years, I had never once asked myself who was there to save me. "Do you still love her?" David asked quietly. The question hung in the air. I looked down at the wet streets below and answered honestly. "I don't know anymore." But for the first time in 6 years, I didn't go looking for her. The next morning, she showed up outside my lecture hall, but she wasn't alone, and the person standing beside her was the last person I ever wanted to see again. It was him, Ethan Blake, tall, sharp features, perfect hair despite the rain, the kind of guy girls described as emotionally unavailable, right before ruining their own lives chasing him. Luna stood beside him silently, eyes slightly swollen, probably from crying all night. But even then, she still looked beautiful. That was the worst part. She always looked beautiful enough to make people forgive her, including me, especially me. Students passing by kept staring. Some recognized Ethan from social media, others recognized Luna, and a few recognized me, the idiot who had followed her around for years like some loyal background character in her story. David once told me, "You love her like a husband while she treats you like emergency contact information." At the time, I laughed. Now, I realized he wasn't joking. Luna stepped toward me first. "Can we talk?" I looked at Ethan, then back at her. "You brought him?" Her expression stiffened slightly. "He insisted." Ethan shoved his hands into his hoodie pockets lazily. "I just want to clear things up." I almost laughed. Clear things up, as if there was anything unclear. 3 months ago, Luna told me Ethan was different. That word again. Different. Every guy she loved was always different. Different meant dangerous. Different meant emotionally distant. Different meant the exact opposite of me. And somehow, that always worked on her. At first, she only talked about him casually, then more often, then constantly, like she needed me to slowly watch myself being replaced. "He's actually really sweet once you get to know him. He acts cold, but he's misunderstood. He had a hard childhood." I listened to everything, every detail, every excuse she made for him, every red flag she romanticized, and every time I stayed silent. Because loving someone for too long changes you. You stop protecting your own feelings, you just protect theirs. Now, Ethan stood in front of me with dark circles under his eyes, clearly annoyed to even be here. He looked at me briefly, then said, "She talks about you too much." Luna immediately looked nervous. "Ethan, no, seriously." He shrugged. "I got tired of hearing your name." I blinked slowly. "What?" He laughed once, not kindly. "She cries to you?" "Runs to you." "Calls you whenever we fight." His jaw tightened slightly. "So, tell me honestly." His eyes locked onto mine. "Are you her backup boyfriend or her emotional support dog?" The hallway fell silent. I saw Luna panic instantly. "Stop it." But Ethan kept going. "She says you're just a friend." He tilted his head. "But honestly, no guy spends 6 years doing all that unless he's in love." My chest tightened, not because he was wrong, because he was right. And everyone knew it except the girl standing between us. Or maybe she knew too, and just liked pretending she didn't. Luna grabbed Ethan's sleeve. "Enough." But he pulled away. "No." His voice turned colder. "I'm tired of competing with some guy you swear you don't love." Then he looked directly at me again. "You want my advice?" "She'll never choose you." Every word landed perfectly, precisely, cruelly, because deep down, I already knew. Luna looked horrified. "George," I finally spoke, quietly. "It's fine." She froze, and I realized something strange. For the first time, watching her panic no longer made me want to comfort her. Ethan scoffed softly, then walked away without another word. Just left her standing there, again, like every guy before him. Luna stared after him desperately for a few seconds before turning back to me. And there it was again. That instinct, that reflex. The moment her world collapsed, she looked for me. "Can we talk somewhere private?" Her voice cracked slightly. I should have said no. I should have walked away. But old habits are hard to kill. So, 20 minutes later, we sat across from each other in the same cafe we had visited hundreds of times before. The same corner seat. The same caramel latte she always ordered. The same place where I once thought we looked like a real couple. Funny. How memory can humiliate you. Luna kept staring at her cup silently, then finally whispered, "He thinks I'm emotionally cheating on him with you." I stirred my coffee slowly. Was he wrong? Her eyes widened immediately. "George," that tone. Soft, warning me not to cross the line, the same tone she used every time I got too close to the truth. "You know I care about you." There. I nodded once. That word again. Care, not love. never love, just enough affection to keep me trapped. She looked exhausted. I don't want to lose you. And there it was, the sentence that destroyed me for 6 years. Not, I choose you. Not, I love you. Not, I want to be with you. Just, I don't want to lose you. Because she never wanted me badly enough to choose me. Only badly enough to keep me nearby. I looked at her quietly. Really looked at her. The girl I once would have done anything for. The girl I lost sleep for. The girl I ruined myself loving. And suddenly, something inside me felt distant, not healed, just numb. Luna, my voice sounded strangely calm. What exactly am I to you? She opened her mouth, closed it, looked down, then whispered, You're home. And somehow, that hurt more than rejection ever did. You're home. I laughed quietly after she said it, not because it was funny, because I finally understood everything. Home. That safe place people return to after getting hurt somewhere else. Warm, reliable, waiting, no matter how late they come back, no matter who broke them before. And suddenly, I hated that word. Luna looked nervous after hearing me laugh. You know that's not what I meant. No, I nodded slowly. I think it's exactly what you meant. Outside the cafe window, rain slid down the glass in crooked lines. People walked past holding umbrellas together. Couples, friends, normal people. Meanwhile, I sat across from the girl I had loved for 6 years, trying to understand why being loved by her always felt so lonely. When Ethan ignored you, I looked at her calmly. You called me. When your ex before him cheated, you called me. When you failed your interview and cried outside campus at midnight, you called me. When your parents fought, when you got sick, when you felt abandoned, when you needed someone, you always called me. I paused. But when you were happy, my eyes met hers. You never looked for me first. Luna's lips parted slightly. No answer, because she knew. People think heartbreak happens all at once. It doesn't. Real heartbreak is slower, quieter. It happens when you slowly realize the person you would die for would only miss your absence when they needed comfort. George. She reached toward my hand instinctively. I pulled back before she could touch me. The movement was small, but it changed her expression immediately, like she had just realized something important, something terrifying. For years, I had always let her hold on to me whenever she wanted. This was the first time I moved away. You're angry? No. I shook my head. That would honestly be easier. What does that mean? I looked outside again. It means I'm tired, Luna. You keep saying I'm important to you. But somehow, I'm only important when everything else falls apart. Her eyes reddened immediately. I never used you. The moment she said that, I knew she truly believed it. And somehow that made it worse. Because selfish people who know they're selfish can still change. But people who think they're innocent, they destroy you gently, without even noticing. You remember sophomore year? I asked quietly. The winter festival? She blinked, then nodded slowly. Of course she remembered. That night had destroyed me. The entire campus had been covered in snow. Music, lights, food stalls, couples everywhere. And Luna had dragged me around for hours complaining about how cold her hands were. At one point, she slipped her fingers into my coat pocket to warm them. And I swear to God, my heart almost stopped. Later that night, she rested her head on my shoulder during the fireworks, then whispered, If nobody marries me someday, maybe I'll just stay with you forever. I spent 2 years replaying that sentence in my head. 2 years. You know what happened after that? I asked softly. Luna stayed silent because she knew. The very next week, she confessed to another guy and cried in my arms after getting rejected. You can't keep giving someone hope like that. My voice stayed calm, but my chest hurt. You can't hold someone close when you're lonely, then act confused when they fall in love with you. Luna looked like she wanted to argue, but couldn't, because every memory between us suddenly sounded different when spoken out loud. I never asked you to wait for me. There it was, the sentence every emotionally unavailable person eventually says. Technically true, emotionally dishonest. Because no, she never asked me directly. She just gave me enough affection to stay, enough intimacy to hope, enough closeness to ruin myself willingly. I smiled faintly. You didn't have to ask. Silence, heavy silence, the kind that feels irreversible. Then suddenly, Luna started crying, not dramatic crying, not loud, just quiet tears sliding down her face while she stared at her untouched coffee. And despite everything, my first instinct was still to comfort her. That was the scary part. Even after all this, a piece of me still loved her automatically, like muscle memory. I don't know why I keep hurting you. Her voice trembled. I really don't. I believed her. And honestly, that was the tragedy. She never meant to destroy me. She just never loved me enough not to. My phone buzzed suddenly, a message from David. You alive? Then another. Anna's asking if you're still coming tonight. I almost forgot. David's birthday dinner, and unfortunately, Anna would be there. Luna noticed the name immediately. Anna? The way she said it changed the atmosphere instantly. Small, subtle, but sharp. I locked my phone calmly. Yeah, she's going to. Hmm. Luna wiped her tears quickly, trying to sound casual. The entire table exploded. David nearly fell out of his chair laughing. Someone started banging the table. Another guy shouted, Bro, she just publicly claimed you. Meanwhile, I sat there completely frozen because Anna still hadn't looked away. Not joking, not embarrassed, just calmly staring at me like she had finally gotten tired of hiding. I cleared my throat awkwardly. Emotionally unemployed? Anna nodded seriously. Yes, then took another sip of her drink. You've been emotionally jobless for years. The table lost it again. Even I laughed. But under the laughter, my chest felt strange, warm, dangerous, because for the first time in a very long while, someone was looking at me like I was actually worth choosing. The game continued after that. But honestly, I barely paid attention anymore. My mind kept replaying what she said. Not because it was dramatic, because it was simple, direct, no mixed signals, no emotional maze, just honesty. And somehow, that scared me more than rejection ever had. Around midnight, people slowly started leaving. Some were drunk, some disappeared with their partners. David had already vanished with his girlfriend 20 minutes earlier, like the irresponsible host he was, which left me alone outside the restaurant with Anna. Cold wind brushed past us quietly. The streets glowed orange under midnight traffic lights, and for a moment, neither of us spoke. Then, Anna suddenly said, You still love her. Not a question, just a fact. I shoved my hands into my pockets slowly. Probably. She nodded once. No anger, no disappointment, just acceptance, like she already expected it. You know what your problem is? I sighed. Everyone keeps saying I have one. You romanticized suffering. I blinked. What? Anna looked ahead calmly while walking. You treated pain like proof of love. Her voice stayed soft. You thought staying no matter how badly someone hurt you made your feelings more real. I stayed silent, because that hit way too hard. You know what healthy love looks like? She glanced at me briefly. You don't have to beg for it. The sound of distant traffic filled the silence between us, and suddenly, I realized something embarrassing. I genuinely had no idea what healthy love looked like. Every version of love I understood involved waiting, hurting, hoping, forgiving, staying, even while bleeding. You make me sound pathetic. You were pathetic. I looked at her in disbelief. You could have softened that. No. Anna shrugged casually. People already soften things too much for you. Then she stopped walking, turned toward me fully, and said quietly, She kept you emotionally starving for years. My throat tightened slightly, because hearing someone say it out loud made everything feel uglier, realer. She didn't mean to. There I was again, defending Luna automatically. Anna noticed immediately, and for the first time that night, her expression darkened slightly. That's the problem. She stepped closer. You still protect her before yourself. The city lights reflected softly in her eyes. You know what scares me most? I swallowed slowly. What? That even after everything, you'd still run to her if she cried hard enough. Silence. Because we both knew she was right. And honestly, that terrified me too. Anna looked away first, then laughed quietly to herself. You know, I used to hate her. I raised an eyebrow. Used to? Oh no. She smiled coldly. I still do. I laughed despite myself. Damn! She wasted 6 years of your life. That's dramatic? No. Anna looked directly at me again. What's dramatic is how little you think you deserve. That sentence followed me all night. Back at my apartment, I couldn't sleep, so I sat on the floor beside my bed staring at old messages, years of them. Luna sending selfies, Luna complaining about guys, Luna asking if I ate yet, Luna calling me at 2 a.m., Luna saying, "You're the only one who understands me." And suddenly, I noticed something horrifying. Almost every emotional memory between us happened after another guy hurt her, like our entire relationship had been built from emotional leftovers. At 3:41 a.m., my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I already knew who it was before answering. George? Luna's voice sounded small, fragile, dangerously familiar. I closed my eyes tiredly. How many numbers do you even have? Silence. Then quietly, can we talk? There's nothing left to say. That's not true. Her breathing trembled slightly. I miss you. 3 words. 6 years ago, those words would have destroyed me. Tonight, they just made me tired. Luna, I spoke gently, too gently, because no matter how exhausted I was, I still couldn't be cruel to her. You miss having someone there for you. That's different. No. I looked at the dark ceiling above me. I think that's exactly what this is. She started crying quietly again, and instinctively, my chest tightened. God, I hated this. Hated how her pain still affected me automatically, like my heart belonged to her against my own will. I really loved you. There it was again. That sentence, that poisonous sentence. Not, I love you. Past tense, always past tense, like she loved me conveniently, temporarily, in between loving other people more. Then why wasn't I enough? The question escaped before I could stop it. Silence. Long silence, the kind that already contains an answer. Finally, Luna whispered, I don't know. And somehow, that hurt even more than hearing, because I didn't choose you. Because at least rejection would have been clear. This? This was just emotional confusion sharp enough to ruin people slowly. I laughed quietly to myself, tired, broken, embarrassed. Then asked the one thing I should have asked years ago. If Ethan texted you right now, would you still choose him over me? The silence afterward lasted 5 full seconds. 5 seconds too long. That was all I needed. I ended the call, blocked the number, and sat there in complete darkness, breathing, thinking, realizing, for 6 years. I kept waiting for Luna to finally choose me. But maybe the more important question was, why had I never chosen myself? The next morning, someone knocked on my apartment door. I opened it half asleep and froze immediately. Anna stood there holding 2 coffees, wearing an oversized hoodie, hair messy from the wind, completely expressionless, until she looked at my face closely. Then her eyes narrowed. You cried. I instantly looked away. I was sleepy. You look emotionally waterboarded. Can you stop inventing phrases? No. She walked inside without permission, then placed 1 coffee in my hand gently, and for some reason, That tiny act of care almost broke me more than heartbreak itself. Anna walked around my apartment slowly while drinking her coffee, judging, silently, like an exhausted mother discovering her son lived inside emotional warfare. Clothes on the chair, empty ramen cups, open textbooks, everywhere. My curtains still closed despite it being nearly noon. Finally, she looked at me and sighed. You live like someone waiting to lose custody of himself. I stared at her blankly. That doesn't even make sense. It does in my head. She walked over and opened the curtains immediately. Sunlight flooded the room. Too bright, too sudden. I squinted hard, and Anna smiled faintly when she noticed. You've been sitting in darkness too long. Something about the way she said it made my chest tighten, because she obviously wasn't just talking about the apartment anymore. How'd you even get my address? David. Traitor. He said if he left you alone too long, you'd probably reunite with Luna out of emotional weakness. I rubbed my face tiredly. Honestly, fair. Anna laughed softly, and weirdly, hearing her laugh felt peaceful, not addictive like Luna, not intoxicating, just safe, warm, the kind of feeling that doesn't destroy you afterward. She handed me a breakfast sandwich. You need actual food. I'm not hungry. You've said that every day this week. I blinked slowly. How do you know that? Anna looked away casually. I ask David about you sometimes. My heartbeat stumbled slightly, not dramatically, just enough to notice, because nobody had quietly worried about me in a very long time, at least not without needing something in return. I sat beside her on the floor eventually, eating silently. The morning light stretched across the apartment quietly, and for the first time in weeks, my chest didn't feel completely heavy. Then Anna suddenly asked, what was the exact moment you fell in love with her? I leaned back against the bed behind me, thinking, honestly, there were too many moments. That was the problem. Loving Luna wasn't one big event, it was death by accumulation. Thousands of tiny moments stacked together until she became part of my bloodstream. She remembered small things. Anna listened quietly. Like what? I smiled faintly despite myself. She remembered I hated tomatoes. She remembered my exam schedules better than I did. She'd send me reminders before presentations. Whenever I got headaches during finals, she'd bring medicine without me asking. My voice softened unconsciously while talking about Luna, and Anna noticed immediately, but she stayed quiet, letting me continue. The worst part? I laughed weakly. She treated everyone else differently. What do you mean? She wasn't naturally caring. I stared down at my coffee. She only acted that way with me. And that was exactly how she trapped me for years without even trying. Because when someone gives you a version of themselves nobody else gets to see, you start believing you matter more than you actually do. Anna finally spoke again. You know something? What? She probably did love you. I looked at her immediately, surprised, because I expected Anna to hate Luna completely. But instead, she sounded calm, honest. She just didn't love you correctly. The room fell silent after that, and honestly, that sentence healed something inside me a little. Because maybe I wasn't crazy after all. Maybe Luna really had cared. Maybe those moments were real. Maybe I wasn't imagining everything. But real feelings alone don't automatically make someone good for you. Poison can still taste sweet. Anna stood up eventually, stretching lazily, then looked down at me. Get dressed. Why? We're going outside. I don't want to. I wasn't asking. You always this controlling? Yes. She pointed toward my bathroom. Move. 30 minutes later, she dragged me across downtown like an emotional rehabilitation project. We visited bookstores, street markets, tiny cafes hidden between buildings. At one point, she forced me to try some expensive dessert that looked way too pretty to eat. And slowly, without realizing it, I started laughing again. Normally, naturally, without forcing it. At sunset, We sat beside the river eating convenience store ice cream. The wind was cold. People walked past us holding hands, and for once, seeing happy couples didn't make my chest hurt. Anna looked ahead quietly, then suddenly asked, "If Luna asked for you back tomorrow?" My spoon stopped moving slightly. "I don't know." She nodded once. Honest answer. Not comforting, not reassuring, just real. And strangely, she respected that. "You know why I never confessed before?" I glanced at her. "Because you enjoy emotional suffering too?" She snorted. "Shut up!" Then her expression softened slightly. "Because I knew you weren't emotionally available." I looked down silently. Fair. Very fair. "I liked you for almost 3 years." I blinked. 3? Mm-hmm. "You're insane." "Probably." She smiled faintly. "But unlike you, I knew loving someone shouldn't feel like begging." The river reflected orange sunlight across the water, and suddenly, I realized something painful. Anna loved me more gently in 3 years of silence than Luna did in 6 years of emotional dependence. My phone buzzed suddenly. Unknown number again. I already knew. Luna. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering above decline. Anna noticed immediately. But she didn't look angry, didn't pressure me, didn't guilt me. She simply asked quietly, "What do you want?" Not, "What should Luna want?" Not, "What would make her feel better?" Just, "What do you want?" And embarrassingly, I didn't know how to answer. Because I spent so many years centering Luna's emotions, I forgot how to hear my own. The phone stopped vibrating. Then another message appeared. "I'm outside your apartment." My chest tightened instantly. Reflex, habit, history, trauma, love. Whatever this thing was, it still controlled parts of me. Anna read my expression immediately. "She came again?" "Yeah." "You gonna go?" I stayed silent too long, and that alone answered the question. Anna looked away briefly, hurt, but composed, then stood up slowly. "I'll leave first." The moment she said that, something inside me panicked unexpectedly. I grabbed her wrist instinctively, too fast, too naturally. We both froze. The evening wind moved softly around us. People passed nearby without noticing. And for one strange second, everything became painfully quiet. Anna looked down at my hand around her wrist, then slowly back at me. Her voice turned very soft. "George." I let go immediately. "Sorry?" But she kept staring at me like she was waiting for something. Some answer, some decision, some version of me that still hadn't fully awakened yet. Finally, she smiled sadly, then whispered, "You still look at her pain before your own," and walked away, leaving me standing beside the river alone, holding 2 melted ice creams, and a heart that suddenly felt more confused than ever before. By the time I got back to my apartment, it was already dark, and Luna was really there, sitting outside my building entrance alone, a small paper bag beside her feet. The moment she saw me, she stood up immediately, like someone finally seeing air after drowning. For years, that expression used to make me feel needed, important, chosen. Tonight, it only made me feel exhausted. "You came." Her voice sounded relieved, soft, fragile, dangerously familiar. I shoved my hands into my pockets quietly. "You shouldn't be here." "I called you." "I know." "You didn't answer." "I know." The silence between us stretched painfully. Luna looked thinner than usual, eyes swollen, hair messy from the wind. She probably hadn't been sleeping properly. And despite everything, part of me still wanted to ask if she had eaten. That was the curse of loving someone too long. Even after they destroy you, care still survives in ugly little pieces. "I brought food." She lifted the paper bag slightly. "Your favorite dumplings from that place near campus." My chest tightened unexpectedly because she remembered. Of course she remembered. Luna always remembered small things. That was how she loved people, in fragments, in moments. in ways just meaningful enough to keep someone attached. I'm not hungry. You barely eat when you're upset. I looked away immediately because hearing her say that still affected me, still felt intimate, still sounded like home, and honestly, that terrified me more than heartbreak itself. Luna stepped closer carefully, like approaching a frightened animal. George, I know I messed up. That's an understatement. A weak smile appeared on her lips for half a second, then disappeared again. I just. She swallowed hard. I didn't realize how much you meant to me until you stopped being there. There it was, the sentence I spent 6 years waiting for, and somehow, now that I finally heard it, it didn't feel victorious at all. Just sad. Too late always sounds tragic instead of romantic in real life. I stared at her quietly. The girl I once would have crossed cities for. The girl I built entire futures around in my head. The girl who accidentally taught me how painful hope could become. And suddenly, I understood something clearly. I wasn't in love anymore. I was grieving. There's a difference. You know what the worst part was? My voice stayed calm. I would have forgiven you for rejecting me. Luna's eyes trembled slightly. But you never let me move on. Her breathing became uneven. George, you held on to me every time someone else hurt you. You gave me hope whenever I tried to leave. You treated me like I was important, but never enough to actually choose. Tears rolled down her face silently now, but I kept going because for once, I needed her to hear everything. You know how many times I almost stopped loving you? I laughed weakly. So many. But then you'd do something small. Call me late at night. Lean on my shoulder. Tell me I mattered. And suddenly, I'd start hoping again like an idiot. My throat tightened slightly. Do you know how cruel that becomes after years? Luna covered her mouth quietly while crying. And for the first time, I didn't move to comfort her. I really did love you. She sounded completely broken now. I know. That answer surprised her, but it was true. I believed she loved me in her own confused way, but love without clarity, without responsibility, without choice, can destroy people just as badly as hatred. You were my favorite person. Her voice cracked hard, and yet you still kept choosing everyone else. Silence, because there was no defense against that. The wind moved softly between us, cold, quiet, final, and suddenly, Luna whispered the sentence I once dreamed about hearing. Choose me this time. God, 6 years ago, that sentence would have made me cry. Tonight, it only made my chest ache with exhaustion because people think closure feels powerful. Sometimes it just feels empty. I looked at her for a very long time. Really looked at her. Every version of her. The girl from high school. The girl under fireworks. The girl crying in my passenger seat at 3 a.m. The girl I would have destroyed myself for. And finally, I accepted the truth. I loved her longer than she deserved, and she loved me later than I needed. So quietly, gently, I answered, no. Luna froze completely, like her entire world stopped moving. I continued softly. I can't keep loving someone who only realizes my value after losing me. Fresh tears rolled down her face instantly. I'll do better. I know. I'll choose you. I know. Then why? Because I already spent 6 years choosing you. My voice almost broke there. But somewhere along the way, I forgot to choose myself. She cried harder after that. Not dramatic, not loud, just devastated, like someone realizing too late that the safest place they ever had was already gone. Then quietly, she asked the question she probably feared most. Is there someone else? And immediately, I thought about Anna. Her laughter, her honesty, the way she brought coffee without asking for anything back, the way she looked at me like I was worth loving peacefully, not painfully, peacefully. And maybe that was the biggest difference of all. I smiled faintly. There might be. Luna closed her eyes immediately, like that hurt more than everything else combined, because deep down, she never truly believed I would leave. Not really. People get addicted to certainty, and I had made the mistake of loving her so loyally. She thought I always would. She wiped her tears shakily, then forced herself to ask, "Does she make you happy?" I thought about it honestly, then nodded once. She makes me feel calm. And somehow, that answer completely shattered her. Because Luna finally understood. She gave me intensity, chaos, need, addiction. But Anna gave me peace. Luna laughed weakly through tears. I think I finally understand what I did to you. I stayed silent. Because honestly, understanding it now changed nothing anymore. After a long time, she handed me the paper bag quietly. The dumplings will get cold. I looked at it, then slowly accepted it. Not because I still belonged to her, not because this was reconciliation, but because after everything, I didn't want our final memory to become cruelty. Luna smiled sadly through swollen eyes. You're still kind.